I've been having a cosmically difficult time wrapping my mind around some of the things people say recently. For instance, this is not just a recent thing, but when someone says, BKC, I'm not good at team building, but, why does that mean the game should be more difficult for me? Why is it, why should I not enjoy the same playing field as someone who puts time and effort into building their teams, if I can have someone do that for me? If I can have someone build me a team and or tell me what to use, don't I deserve that? And the answer is very clearly no. And I don't understand how... Okay, no, I do understand. I am still coming to terms with the fact that a fair, competitive playing field is not really what we're after, which is strange because that is the veneer of this whole enterprise. And somewhat related to this is how back in the 70s, when I was first playing GSC and SPL, I was also in college, and some of the work I did was working with women who were survivors of abuse, domestic abuse, at the hands of men. And this was a subject that, it wasn't a subject I grew up around. I grew up seeing a lot of it, which is why I was interested in it, trying to, retroactively fix what happened. Feeling powerless to stop it and all that jazz. And what's really interesting is that there's a really great book called Why Does He Do That? And I was skimming it again recently because I have a friend who's going through some stuff. Good Lord, it just keeps coming. And as I was reading through this, I was really feeling similar to... Because a lot of what happens with, these women who are suffering this kind of thing is that a lot of the time they feel like they're going insane. Now, no, I am not drawing a parallel from people being idiots about competitive Pokemon to a victim of domestic abuse. Please don't hear that as such. I'm saying, as you will hear soon, that my concerns are more outside the realm of Pokemon these days, which I mentioned in the last video for anyone who listened to that. But that Pokemon thing was on my mind specifically because of something that someone just messaged me this morning. But yeah, so the thing about victims of domestic abuse, not just necessarily women, although that was in heterosexual relationships, although that was the thing I studied most concretely, is that a lot of the time they feel like they're going insane. There are obvious cases of, men just being complete wild animals, and then, the woman going, oh my God, why is he doing this? I haven't done anything to deserve this. But a lot of the time, it's not as obvious. And what's more insidiously malignant about this kind of thing is when the abuse isn't even necessarily outward, and it's more like a passive-aggressive kind of thing. And, gaslighting is a very, very, very trendy term nowadays, but it's beyond, obvious gaslighting. Of course that does happen. No, I never said insert thing I just said 5 seconds ago. You're crazy. But then there's, little things what? I'm not doing anything. I'm behaving completely normally. You're the one who's... So, a lot of it is more subtle and more difficult to identify. And what winds up happening is that this happened over and over and over. A lot of the women that we worked with, they felt like they were, losing their minds because it's oh, well, what does he do? He doesn't scream, he doesn't hit me, he doesn't do this, but he's just kind of, something's wrong, And the reason I mention this is because Finchinator... No, I'm kidding. Finch is now engaged. Congrats, Finch. I hope she converts you from that best of one nonsense. Anyway, so the reason I mention this is because I have been having a real heck of a month. Not even 3 weeks in. Jesus Christ. And in the last video, it was end of February, I think, and it was man, it's been tough, and it's just been Yeah. So this past week in particular, I really feel like I've been going insane. BKC, shouldn't you be telling us about Pokemon? Give me a fucking break. Care about something besides Pokemon for once. Yes, I can't blame you for coming to this for Pokemon. Obviously, that's your right. But anyway, yeah, I've been feeling like I've been going nuts lately. It seems to be popping up everywhere. See, and that's the thing, you meet one asshole in the morning, they're an asshole. You see assholes all day, you're the asshole. So I've been thinking about that, but I'm like, I'm not crazy, right? And then I'm like, am I actually going crazy? And the craziest part of all is that Finchinator supports best of one, and that is another... I mean, I don't have the energy to go through it anymore. Because whatever points I would make about best of one are drowned out by the fact, or being inferior to best of three and all that, is drowned out by the fact that people don't care. And that whole thing where we like the spectacle, the circus, the carnival, what's that whole expression? The clown and pony show? And we like, that clown and pony show is fun when we pretend that it's competitive. Or reasonably competitive, even though I think it's more a comfort with the status quo. Can you imagine if we started out playing best of three and someone tried to argue it down to best of one? Good lord. So, yeah, not to make this into another video where the Smogan user base is a microcosm for the idiocy of humanity. But yeah, it really is a fascinating study into how people can very, very confidently, very aggressively, not only treat each other like shit, but confidently treat each other like shit while saying things that are just outright untrue. Or stupid. Or, yeah, there's a lot. So, I don't have an idea behind this video other than I feel like I'm going fucking insane, and I had to vent a little bit. So, do I feel a little better? I don't feel worse. Yeah, maybe I do. Yeah, so the point is that, I don't know, I've been noticing more that a lot of the, look, if your idea of competitive Pokemon is not like the hardcore Smogon tournament scene, this probably sounds like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've never seen anything like this. I mean, people being idiots on ladder, but that's, random idiots. I'm talking more respected tournament player base going around saying things like, what, best of three isn't even that much more competitive than best of one because, team matchup RNG is a thing too. It's so... I just wonder if it's some sort of collective psychosis or trolling, or I don't know. I really just think it's convenience. And the underlying point of it all, that Finchinator is behind, of course. Love you, Finch. I have to say that, just, stay in his good graces. Otherwise, he's going to send his goons after me. Gooning means something else nowadays, doesn't it? I keep seeing it. Whatever. So, Finchinator was gooning. Yeah, I know what it means. So, Finchinator was gooning, and, wow, I do feel better now. But, yeah, as the player... I mean, this is a theory I had, years and years ago, and... only CL really agreed with me, which is how I knew that there was some truth to it, at least, because CL is the most reasonable person I've ever met in my life, online or in real life. But now it just feels more and more... Well, the basic idea is that the game itself... I mean, yes, we enjoy the game itself, but when it comes to the tournament sphere, then a lot of us don't actually enjoy the game because of how cruel and just disgustingly nasty people are to each other. We've all seen this shit before. You get triple crit in the last 3 turns to take away a win. It's like, oh, you choked because you had, some bullshit. It's not even right half the time. And people will just say, and basically the theory I have is that, we're not really enjoying the game, and it's really just here to, or personally I enjoy the game, which is why all my, rants about Skull and best of 3 and building your own teams, that's all for the game itself. But a lot of people, they like the circus. They like jerking, as it's called, circle jerking. Circle Jerks. That's a good band I haven't listened to in a while. And they don't really. I don't think they really give a shit. They just like having something to protest against. Even if it would benefit them, like good players like Finchinator would be better off in best of three. And I'm not making Finch an example out of Finch in particular here, but shit, like it would be better for you. So whenever I see someone complain about how best of three would be too much effort, and then they get haxed and complain, then I'm like, all I'm saying is you could have had better odds in best of three. There's a reason the most successful tournament player of the last however many years is Heroic Troller in RBY, who's an extraordinary player. He also and it's an RBY, which makes it all the more impressive. Then you realize he's playing a tier which has best of three. You throw him into best of one RBY and watch that win rate drop through no fault of his own, really, just through the nature of Pokemon. So the theory is that the carnival is what a lot of people care about. Troller himself, I remember he last year people were saying it was some World Cup nonsense I wasn't following because I don't give a shit about World Cup anymore. But someone was saying it's not fair for us to have to play Black and White against Soulwind because it'll be an automatic loss. And it's like, what the fuck do you mean automatic loss? Because back in the day, excuse me for revealing my age, but back in the 1940s, right after the atomic bomb was dropped and, birthed the spirit of all evil in Finchinator, that's a Twin Peaks The Return reference, then back then it would be something more akin to, I'm playing this player who's, venerated by everyone, really good. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to, knock him off, and I'm going to pull an upset. And if it didn't work, then, you would try. But, I mean, this kind of goes in hand with, what I've complained about, how people have this defeatist mentality, and they just kind of want to, load up cheese if they face someone better. It's like, do I want to try and outplay them? Nah, I'm just going to, pray, which is, dumb, because then you get into the game and you see what they brought and how they play, and you're like, yes, they're a very good player, but they're a player like anyone else. They can only make one move at a time. They can only bring 6 Pokemon, and I could have, won this game if I just brought a good team and played well. Anyway, so it's kind of related, and it's kind of related to sheet looking, which is the spreadsheet that keeps track of everyone's records in team tournaments, and only team tournaments, these best of one fiascos. And that is like the end-all, be-all of someone's worth in the competitive tournament scene, which is rare that someone will admit to that outright, but from the behavior of the community at large, it is very, it speaks for itself. It's kind of like if someone's lying and you accuse them of lying, what are they going to do? Say, yeah, I'm lying? No, of course they're not. It used to be... there was this thing where there was a certain SPL team that was really known for cheating a while ago, like more than the norm was back in the Wild West. And people were like, okay, guys, you guys are taking it too far. You guys are, you have players who are just puppets. And then one of their players was like, honestly, I have never seen anything. Well, of course you're not going to fucking say, yeah, we're cheating. Yeah. Which, I mean, God, you want to draw parallels to our political situation right now. But yeah, the carnival is all about being as demeaning or, blindly filleting the players who are successful, even if, there are players who will, have a really good record, and, they'll get a little lucky along the way, and they'll be the first to tell you, bless them, they'll be like, you know what, yeah, I have a good record, but it's Pokemon, I got a little lucky along the way. You have to get lucky to have a good record. Part of being good at Pokemon is not just, managing odds, yes, but, the end result, especially in best of one, my God, is not just getting lucky, but it's also avoiding being unlucky, So they'll be the first to tell you, but it's become this complete clown fest of just end result. They don't even watch the games half the time. It's like, well, here's the end result, and that's all there is to it. In a game like Pokemon, now, I realize I rant about nuance not 99% of my waking life, but It's unbelievable. Yeah. So the point was that Troller, when that World Cup team was like, we don't want to bring black and white back to World Cup because what happens when we face Spain and we have to face Solwyn and it's an automatic loss. And Troller, who was basically expressing the same sentiment, like, what the fuck do you mean? You just accept your automatic loss. Then I think the way he referred to it is that it's like a social. I forget exactly how I said it, but he said something to the effect of it's like a social media site with like the battles on the side, which is effectively what my theory with CL was so long ago. Like the Pokemon is really secondary to the social event that makes up so much of the enjoyment of the site. Now, everyone who gets in the tournament scene at some point says, you know what, I came for the Pokemon, I stayed for the people. Nothing wrong with that. But then the Pokemon itself actually gets discarded in favor of, all this stupid bullshit that I'm complaining about. And then Finchinator winds up... Okay, I'm kidding. But, yeah, you see what I'm getting at. That the competitive aspect is just, shoved more and more to the side until, yeah, it's exhausting. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go to the bathroom and see if there's anything more to say. Yeah, it's beyond any specific issue like Best of One or, Scald or whatever it is. But I hate to use the word anti-intellectual in regards to Pokemon, especially because there's so many areas in which that problem is so much more pervasive. But, here we are about Pokemon. So, the funny thing is that I was thinking, it's funny to call it anti-intellectual, when people are behaving like high schoolers. But what's really particularly interesting about that is that, number one, this is not an issue contained in the sphere of competitive Pokemon. The player base is getting older now. I'll be 29 in a couple of weeks, and a lot of the modern player bases, around my age, give or take a few years. Back in the day, someone 25 and older was like, whoa, this guy's old. Let alone the fact that we regularly have 30-plus players now, which is fine, obviously, that's not the issue. But it's more people of, our age still behaving like high schoolers in a lot of ways. And that's what I mean about the carnival, the circus, all that jazz. It's that, they don't really feel the enthusiasm for the game, which is fine, but at that point, when you don't really have interest for the game itself anymore, then, okay, you stick around for your friends or whatever, then why are you still involved in Pokemon? Who am I to tell people how to spend their free time? But that's what I don't like, the dumbing down of the game because, I don't really give a shit about Pokemon anymore, but I'm here just because I feel like I have to go through the motions of, saying someone choked, saying someone sucks, saying this guy is God, even though he, played like shit and got bailed out. Things of that nature. The willful... I actually want to make a video on, people will say, oh, well, you had a 95% chance to win, but you went for the 93% chance to win, therefore you choked on such and such and such and such. I think that's particularly irritating. I think people's perception of odds... Initially, the increase of perception of odds in Pokemon, as they are everywhere, was a good thing. But now it's gone into blind number crunching territory. Just as a lot of this is just willful blindness. Anyway, so and the other funny thing about the high school thing is that when I was on Smogan in high school, back in the 1920s, forget the 2020s, then a lot of the player base wanted to make things more competitive. It was like, yeah, fuck baton pass, fuck stupid bullshit that gets in the way of the better player winning the game. Like, that was the crux behind every argument. We want the better player to win. This is why we tier. This is why we have rules. And now we literally have people saying, well, it's boring if the better player wins every time. We don't want to... It's fair for the worst player to have a chance to win. And, it's worth embracing variance. I'm sorry, Finch, but that is a quote from the best of one, best of three debate. Which, yeah, we're not in a structured debate here, but that just. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of the point. Back in the day, everyone cared about the game, and now everyone is, or a lot of people are still around, which would be fine. If they were just here to still play the game, nothing wrong with that. But now it feels more like, actually the competitive thing is kind of a drag, and I want things to be fun and exciting, because I guess, which is weird, because for me personally, the game is endlessly interesting, and if it stops being interesting, you step away for a few months, or a few weeks, honestly, because time goes different in Pokemon world, goes by differently, and suddenly you'll have a fresh perspective, and it's like a brand new thing all over again. So if the game is endlessly interesting to me, but for other people, I don't know, they don't look at it the same way. They just, they see, I don't know what they see. That's what I'm realizing more and more in my personal life as well, which is tumultuous. You know how many times I've had this debate recently? Like, how did you not see completely obvious thing? How did you not see that you were doing something really fucked up? And then the other person goes, oh, well, I guess I didn't think about it. And I'm just like, what the fuck do you mean you didn't think about it? Do you not think about other people? Which I guess the answer is yes. But that is the kind of cosmic horror I'm struggling with recently. And it seems to be following me around everywhere. Yeah. So, I don't know. I gotta go do some work now. I'm trying to have this novel written before my birthday. I don't know if I'll succeed on that, but it's just something yeah, it's not a long one. I don't know. Yeah, as you can see, I'm very all over the place. Oh, God. Alright, what's going on in this Sun and Moon game? Oh, Jesus, this one's gonna take a while. Okay, yep, sorry. We're gonna skip, or speed this one up. I'm really going for that double switch. Nice work, Finch. Yeah, because it's like 100-something turn game, I think. Oh, wait, what the heck? Yeah, okay, so that Weavile just used HP Fire, and we got this precious little tidbit in the chat. Sorry about the crit, GG's. Yeah, Sex used Hidden Power. You know what I really like? I like when a bunch of competitive Pokemon players start calling each other virgins. I think that's hilarious. It's like, oh, well, you used a stall team, fucking virgin. Oh, well, you used a team with, nothing but hyper offense. You're the virgin. You just want to click your... Good lord. Okay, I guess this game wasn't actually that long. For some reason I thought it was. But not that I was paying attention at all. Anyway, yeah. Thank you for watching, listening, and I suppose is it a return to my usual stuff? I don't know. It's a strange transition, but yeah, I have a lot of subjects in mind. So let me know what you'd like next. And